That's great. Okay. Well, look, thank you very much, everyone, for joining and joining this talk on creating location-specific narratives using augmented reality. So just to before we get into it, I'm Michael Guerin. I'm CEO and founder of Imvizar. We're an immersive storytelling company based predominantly in Dublin, although Adele's in France and some in the US as well. So maybe Adele, if you want to do a quick introduction to yourself, and then we can get into it.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Adele Keane. I'm the COO and creative director at Imvizar, and I'm from Ireland, although I live in France. And I'm going to be chatting to you today about how to craft AR stories focused on location-specific narratives. So, Michael, if you want to kick things off and give a little overview on what we do.
Great. So we're just going to kick off with a short, 60-second video to give you a sense of the types of experiences and storytelling experiences we create, and then we'll add some context to it after. So hopefully you'll be able to hear this okay. If the audio is a bit shaky, we're going to share a link at the end as well so that everybody can watch it on YouTube, but we'll play it now to give you a sense.
Hey, you there!
So today we're going to talk about how to create digital, captivating, narrative-based, engaging, immersive, and walkable experiences, which we like to call active storytelling. So Imvizar was founded just under 2 years ago with the focus of creating world-class experiences ourselves using augmented reality technology, but also to create a platform that would host thousands of immersive experiences in one single location. So as an example, to use maybe a crude Netflix analogy, we have Imvizar Originals and Imvizar the platform. Since launching just under 2 years ago, we've launched over 60 storytelling experiences in 5 countries. So Ireland, the UK, Portugal, the US, and most recently in Sydney in Australia. And today we're going to give you an insight into how we've created them, maybe why we've created them, and you'll see some video previews as well. So Adele, do you want to kick us off with the guide to location-specific storytelling?
Sure. So we're going to run through now a guide on how to create narrative through location-specific AR experiences. But to take a step back, we're first of all just going to look at some different types of mobile AR. A lot of you are probably familiar with Pokemon Go, the viral game, and IKEA Tap to Place, where you can tap furniture around your house to see if it suits your decor. And of course, who can talk about mobile AR without mentioning Snapchat and Instagram. I'm sure whether you're on these apps or not, at some point you have tried one of their fun filters. The reason why we're looking at these different types of mobile AR is to point out that not all AR is the same. So we've divided AR into 2 different types. You've got moments and stories. So the IKEA Tap to Place, Snapchat filters, and Instagram filters are what we call moments. They're less than 10 seconds, whereas what we're going to talk to today is a story, things that are more than 60 seconds in length. To make it a bit more complex, we're putting it into a quadrant of sorts, where we're going to compare a moment and a story, but then also we're going to compare what a location-based moment and story is versus location-specific. So bear with me, we'll take it back to basics and go through this step by step. So first of all, back to the AR moment. An AR moment, we said, is something that's about 10 seconds long, and it's something that usually provides a burst of entertainment, and these are really, really great for social sharing. So a lot of the Snapchat campaigns are these bursts of entertainment. You might have seen the Yo-Yo Kusama Louis Vuitton campaign that went viral there a couple of months ago. The reason why brands often create these AR moments is to encourage engagement, create brand awareness, and encourage social sharing and viral moments. And a lot of these are large-scale AR experiences too. They're literally larger than life. Something that's worth mentioning as well, a lot of you are probably aware of the Google Geospatial Creator that was launched a couple of weeks ago. I'm going to play a quick video now in case some of you aren't familiar with the type of work they do.
Sculpture I created, a toy called Billy Bananas. So we created a 3D model of him and took this mural and wrapped it around his figure. And when you view this experience, you'll see a couple of giant versions of him on the left and right side of the mural, and also a gigantic version of him in the middle of the street over here. It's a really nice way to kind of take this whole experience and make it big and obnoxious and exciting for people.
So I think he summed it up pretty nicely. These big, large-scale moments are, exciting, obnoxious, and gigantic. So overall, an AR moment is this 10-second moment, a burst of entertainment and a burst of fun to usually connect the user with a brand and encourage them to share things online. We're going to come back later to what exactly an AR story is. And for now, Michael's going to explain the difference between location-based and location-specific AR.
Thanks, Adele. So many of you will have heard about location-based stories, location-based games, location-based entertainment. It's been around for a long time. What we mean by location-specific, obviously it's a version of location-based, but it has three characteristics which we like to focus on. So the first is that the content is related to the story of the location. So it has context for why it's placed in that location. The second is that the content is accurately placed in the location. So with the Google Geospatial as an example, I think the accuracy can be 1 meter or 2 meters. With our location-specific stories, we tend to focus on things that are centimeter level accuracy, and we'll explain now in a minute, or explain why in a minute. And then the third is that you're actually augmenting reality. So there are plenty of, and we'll show some examples now of experiences that are location-based and versions of location-specific, but they might be a portal-style experience where it doesn't really place content in the it doesn't really show any of the real world in the story. So it's more location based and less location specific. So to give some examples, on the left hand side you can see an example of a location based moment. These experiences can be launched on Snapchat. They are at the Sydney Opera House as well as in Central Park in New York. So if you're in this location, you can launch these experiences, and you can launch them from anywhere in the general vicinity. So as long as you're in this general location, you can launch this experience. A more location-specific moment is something that was launched on Snapchat with Orange, the network at the front of Notre Dame in Paris. So as you stand there, if you stand in this exact location, you can see the building come to life, and you can understand in a short period of time some of the history of that building. So both one's location-based, one's location-specific, but both kind of sub 10-second moments. Then a separate one, then a location-based story. So this is in an experience that was in Ireland. You could only launch this experience if you were standing at the ruins of this castle. So if you're in this location, you can launch the story. It's a story because it lasts more than 60 seconds. It tells you the story of prisoners. It's actually a fictional story of prisoners in this location. There's actually not prisoners in this castle. So it is a fictional story. You can only unlock it here, but it's not accurately placed. It's not actually contextual to the ruins that it exists in. And as you can see, it doesn't really augment reality as it's a portal. So it's more of a mobile virtual reality experience. So to bring these back to our quadrant that we mentioned earlier, we have location-specific or location-based moments, which is the Jeff Koons experience in Central Park. We also then have the location-specific moment, which is the Notre Dame experience. And then we also have the location-based story. So Adele is now going to talk to you about what a location-specific story is.
Yeah. So I hope you're still with us, but if not, fear not, as we're getting into the good part now of how to craft AR stories and what exactly that they are. So as we mentioned already, an AR story is something that's more than 60 seconds long, and location-specific story is context, accuracy, and genuinely augmented reality. So essentially, these experiences bring the user on a more comprehensive journey. Think about it nearly more like a cinematic journey where you're, creating an emotional connection between the viewer and what they're experiencing. In a longer narrative, you can have more character depth, you can have more interactive plots, and all of these tie into creating a more comprehensive journey for the user to go on. So I'm going to talk through a few different examples that we've created and talk about how we crafted them and why ultimately. So the first one up here that you're looking at on the screen is, we'll just go back a sec. Yeah. This is a three-sided sculpture in the rocks in Sydney. It's a larger than life sculpture split into three sections. On the first side here, there's a soldier that appears. On the second side, there's a convict. And on the third side, there's a family. So this sculpture was built to represent the different types of people that arrived on the first fleet from England in the late 1700s. And when people walk by this sculpture, they're able to literally, put themselves in the shoes, so to speak, of the people that came over here. But what this statue doesn't tell people at the moment is the story of who these people were. So what we've done is we've actually brought these characters to life, and we've, given them a story based on actual, research that we did of the kinds of people that these were. And the idea is to connect people with the stories from the past and allow them to realize that these were all human people, and if they had been alive back in 1798, they easily could have been any of these three people. We need the soldier who's trying to instill proper order, the convict who asks you to break him free, and then finally you need a family, and you actually find out that the father of the family used to be a convict himself. So it's all about first impressions and not judging people by a cover, essentially. So another example I'm going to talk about also happens to be in Sydney. With this one, our approach was a little bit differently. With the previous there is an anchor walk along Maroubra Beach in Sydney. There's an anchor there, and there's a small plaque that says that this anchor is in commemoration of three different shipwrecks that happened here. What a lot of people don't stop to the actual stories behind those significance, nor do they realize the actual visual images that these shipwrecks have. So the other two on the screen there are actual pictures that in 1890, and people came very far to shipwrecks.
I'm not sure, Adele. Sorry, I'm not sure if it's your internet or the audio. I might just check with everybody if they can hear you okay. It's jumping a bit for me. Maybe if anybody can share in the chat whether it's just jumping on my end or whether it's jumping for everyone.
Please let me know and I can figure something out. Okay, is it better for the moment?
It seems to be working okay now. Sorry, maybe, yeah.
So Michael, I think you should mute your microphone when you're not talking because it's picking up Adele's voice, and that's why the interruptions. Yep.
Thanks. Okay, I will do that.
Cheers. Thanks, Sarah, as well. So these actual archival photos existed, so we took these as inspiration to recreate that specific moment that happened in this location. So now you'll see three pictures below of snapshots from the AR storytelling experiences that we created. So there's the first picture there is of the captain of the Herward shipwreck. He tells his story beside the anchor along with a paper boy that explains the viral moment that this was. And they walk you down to the beach where you meet one of the photographers who took the famous photo. And then you're encouraged to actually go up to the shipwreck itself and explore it as if you were back in 1898. We like to say this is one of our most immersive experiences, as people literally end up getting their toes wet when they head down to the boat. So another experience that I'm going to talk through how we crafted is one that's a bit closer to home. So in Ireland, there's a famous island called Spike Island. It's basically Ireland's version of Alcatraz off the south coast of Ireland. And at one point in time, it was a prison. And unfortunately, it was part of the prison was for children. So there was an actual room on Spike Island that housed up to 50 children that had been sent to Spike Island for petty misdemeanors such as, pickpocketing or stealing food because they were hungry. And it was a really unjust and unfair and cruel time. So at the moment on Spike Island, this room remains empty. And at Spike Island, they weren't sure how to convey the message of the harrowing that went on here. There's a small sign that says this is the children's prison, but nothing else, shows the significance of what happened. So what we actually did in this instance was we've rebuilt the structure of the children's prison, and we also put the children in it. So I think, Michael, if you just tap again, it'll play the video. You'll see that the user can actually, look at the full scene of the prison.
I just need to unmute so you can hear the audio, Adele. So I'll unmute just
Perfect.
For the audio of this, cool. And I'll mute again.
Actual young boys who was sent here to Spike Island. It was dark when I arrived, so I'm still not sure how big this island is. All I know is the judge sentenced me to be taken to Spike Island before transportation to Australia. I've been here for 2 weeks now, and sometimes I can hear the sea, but I can't see it. My name is Timothy 18, and I'm 12 years old. The boys tell me it's better to go to Australia than stay here, and some boys don't make it.
So
that scares me, but I'm trying to get used to being scared all.
With this story, you can see how we've brought the story of one of the actual little boys to life. And as you walk around the prison, you can see little boys, playing games as kids would do, but they're kicking a shoe instead of a football, throwing stones instead of marbles. And our goal here was really to do these poor children justice and, make sure that their story isn't forgotten and that the people who walk through this room really think about what happened there and the significance of its rich history. So I'm going to chat through one final location-specific story that we've crafted, one that ends on a slightly more jolly note. We're going back to Sydney to Captain Cook. Whether you hate him or love him, he literally put Australia on the map, and a statue of him stands in the middle of Hyde Park. So when you hold up your phone, you can see that the model of him appears and jumps down, and he tells you his story along with some of his crewmates of what happened when he first arrived in New South Wales. So now that you have a better idea of the different ways to craft stories, between the Captain Cook and the three-sided monument, they were existing sculptures that existed already that then we created the story around to enhance the object that was there. Or there's the example of the Herward shipwreck where there was the specific photos there, or then the children's prison where you literally have the stories that happen there. There's different ways to go about it, whether it's the structure there or, the specific instance happened. But ultimately, we're trying to get at why location-specific storytelling. And ultimately, it's the connection that people have when they try these different experiences. And here's some kids at Spike Island trying our experience there and seeing the look of awe and wonder, or sometimes even sadness, shows that they really connect with the stories. Here's some more examples of a family and a group of friends in trying one of our experiences in Kerry in the south of Ireland. And I think what's important to note that one of the reasons that our experiences tend to be so believable is because we put the story first and the technology in the background. So with a lot of other types of AR that you might try, whether it's the tap to place experiences where you have to choose where to launch the experience, change the size, and all these different variables, they tend to change the experience. The experience becomes the process of you setting it up and making something funny or entertaining in that way. Whereas we're focusing on that happening in the background and people diving straight into the story and not being aware of the technology that's happening in the background. So Michael, if you have anything to add there on the wire, we'll move on to the next part.
That's great. I'll unmute myself now. Thanks for that, Adele. So look, as Adele said, ultimately the focus here, and you touched on it with the word there, Adele, ultimately the focus is to create more believable stories and more believable experiences. If we can get to that point, the user experience will be a whole lot better than we believe it has been in stories up until now. So we really feel like if we can nail the location specific parameters, so for really augmenting reality, if we can get the accuracy and if there's context to the story, the whole thing becomes, the engagement levels shoot up quite dramatically. So we are focusing on that. We ultimately want walkable stories all around the world. So we talked earlier about some of the ways of describing our experiences, but one of the most important is that you can walk around these experiences. So they're all life-size. They are location-based, which is land location specific, as we mentioned, but they're life-size walkable experiences. So when a user can see a character or see an object in front of them, if there's a throne in a castle and the king goes and sits on that throne, that's a very believable experience. But for the user, you can walk around, and we're soon launching experiences where if you go into a castle, as an example, probably the most important thing is traditionally you might have done an audio guide or you might have had a tour guide. Now with these types of experiences, you can go up to the king and queen in the banquet room and get their experience, but you can also go to the person in the kitchen and get their experience. So you start to get these first-hand experiences of what it was like for the different types of people in a time period, and that can become a very compelling story. So as we mentioned, we would love walkable digital stories all around the world. The reason we're doing this talk today is to share with you that we, in a couple of months, will be launching Stage Reality, which is a storytelling composer tool. So we will be enabling anybody to create life-size, location-specific storytelling experiences without needing to know how to code. We will share a link in the chat in a second. Is for you to get early access to this if you so wish, and we are looking for a small cohort of early access users to give us their feedback on the development. We ourselves are users of this Stage Reality app, and what we want to do is share that with others so that they can create experiences super easy. The reason we're doing this, if we want these styles of experiences, and most people here are involved in the AR, VR industry, if we want these things to become super accessible and for more people to be able to build experiences or to enjoy experiences, we need to make it easier for people to build experiences. So this tool is for creatives, it's for storytellers, it's maybe people from an immersive theater background, it could be people with an AR background as well, it could be creative design studios, anybody who wants to create a story in a location. So it'll be very template based. To use another crude analogy, if you aren't a graphic designer, you can create very good designs on Canva. This will be a similar type approach. So you saw the different types of stage that Adele showed you earlier. So the one in the children's prison was a closed room, and so you would scan that room, and then that becomes your stage. The next one was the Captain Cook statue. So you would scan the statue, and that becomes your stage. So within this Stage Reality app, you'll be able to scan the stage, you'll have it hosted as your stage, and then you can, either on a desktop version or in an app, you'll be able to build the scene, and then you'll be able to very easily put that into AR, test it, and save it and upload it to the Imvizar app. So if anybody would like early access, we'll share a link now for you to sign up for that. So we will continue to create Imvizar original experiences, and we want to enable others to create with Stage Reality. And look, I think Netflix has 3,600 movies on it. Sometimes we say, wouldn't it be great if there was more XR or AR storytelling experiences than there was movies on Netflix, and we're trying to get to a point where we can enable others to do that. So look, thank you very much everybody for listening today. If you scan the QR code here, you can get our details. You can add us on LinkedIn, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions. I'm going to stop sharing the slides now, but if anybody has any questions, we'd be happy to answer them. If I stop sharing here. Thanks for your feedback, Tyler. It'd be great to give you early access if you so wish. We'd be more than happy to share that with you. I'll actually just share the link with you all.
Until there's a question from the audience. How much time did it take for you to build all this?
So the company was founded less than 2 years ago. So we launched our first experience in September of 2021. So we will, we're coming up on this was the second anniversary of launching our first experience. I suppose the reason we're doing it, Gabriel, is we've spent a lot of time building experiences for clients. So with tourist sites and with other AR companies, with local authorities, with cities, with universities, and from building all of these experiences, I suppose we've learned a lot on what works and what doesn't work. We've done a lot of user feedback, a lot of user testing. We've seen what people enjoy. And one of the big things for us is, initially within the company, there was a lot of creatives and less developers. And we were wondering how could we enable other creatives to tell stories without needing developers to do that. So it's not to say that developers won't use stage reality. I'm sure they will, and I hope they will. But we wanted to create a tool that would enable more people to have access to AR storytelling experiences.
I see. Thank you. I think that these things are very much needed, especially from a humanity point of view. And yeah. I see there are no other questions. Thank you for the great presentation. I think it was really great. And for anyone who's still here, we still have a few sessions on AWE.live coming up, even today. Of course, this week in XR with Charlie Fink-Tachilowicz and Ronnie Abovitz. I'll see you next time on the next one. Cheers.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us on LinkedIn.
Please do. All right. Thanks so much.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye.